The reason why I made a video on Toon Link and Young Link together is because they're literally almost the same exact character. I mean, back when Smash games were built on reps, you can't have Dr. Mario in a game if he's a clone of Mario. For Young Link never coming back to Smash, he was replaced by Toon Link. So there was so many people that thought that version of the character would never actually come back, of the niche being filled already. And Toon Link and Young Link are some of the most closest non-Echo fighters that are in the game as far as from a conceptual standpoint. But they are both faster versions of Link, known for being pretty slow, and for years has been really plagued with this issue. And it wasn't until finally they decided to introduce a character that sort of changed things up, and they would have different tier list placements because Young Link existing. So one of the most noticeable differences between the two characters is Young Link is faster. However, this comes with the cost as him having significantly weaker KO power. And being younger means, yeah, Young Link is actually shorter than Link. He doesn't hit as hard, and also this reduces his range at times. And he also significantly is lighter than Link, making him susceptible to combos. He can get KO'd generally more early than Link, who is going to get comboed more because of his fastfall speed. This will also extend behind the damage distribution, as Young Link would shoot fire arrows with neutral special dealing fire damage, but less damage when fully charged, and Young Link's spin attack hits multiple times and rather than just once, making it actually a better option for trapping opponents, but worse for getting KOs. Young Link's bombs actually hit 4 times upon exploding, and this is actually can be really good when zoning with them, and they also deal more damage than Link's, so this is actually really good in certain matchups like Jigglypuff. And this is why the two characters would exist in the same placement on Melee's tier list, as Link would generally hate facing floaty characters, but Young Link enjoyed facing the floatier characters while Link definitely did not. And Young Link is also shorter than Link, and while this does make him harder to hit, this also results in having less reach on his attacks. He has a sword that doesn't hit nearly as far, he dashes faster than Link, and also he has a lower traction than him as well, giving him a longer wave dash. And this also makes him harder to punish out of shield, as Young Link's fast falling speed is much lower, making him more susceptible to getting juggled. And increasing his time airborne, having slight differences in physics in the air compared to Link also changes the matchup. This was actually brought over to Toon Link as well in the next game, as Toon Link and Young Link are a little bit more floaty, and they have more aerial mobility. So Young Link having a weaker smash attacks compared to Link, even applying to his aerials like forward air, this can make his up close ability a little weaker, sure, but it also makes his moves a little bit more safe. Further aiding to his combo ability, as fire arrows actually deal more damage, hence to their name, and fire bows arrows travel less distance due to the character's length, and he has a frame 5 jump swap. This actually allows him to travel faster in the air. And this is a trademark for both of these characters. Toon Link never gets fire arrows, but Young Link always has them. And also, the boomerang deals more damage and travels out. Grounded spin attack is a multi-hit, rather than dealing a single hit, so it doesn't have a launching ability like Link's does. Although its stale hits mean it can confirm into easier KOs when it does. As such, Young Link has mostly remained as a mid to low tier character. However, he does hold some respectable niche in the meta. Although he is more outshined by Link, these days there was a time period where he actually did very well in competitive play. Now, Toon Link replaces Young Link from Melee, and this was, as some people noticed, that this would actually change to Toon Link becoming a more stronger character than Young Link and having better KO power, a much better recovery, and having higher mid-air jumps and a lower fastfall speed. And his spin attack covers more distance because of this. His grab aerial is less useful for recovering, and Toon Link also has more moves that are more difficult, that are different than Young Link's. Toon Link is actually the superior character compared to the two if we're comparing Brawl to Melee, as Toon Link is just really good in a lot of areas. So he's much more effective at spacing and also just getting the KO. In fact, he's obviously way better than Link, because Link is the low tier in this game. Now, while Toon Link actually has less lag and has more utility on his moves, they also no longer are as viable KO options compared to some of the older ones. Like, for example, Toon Link's down smash is also worse and is now sends opponents into the second hit, removing the KO potential and making down smash much less reliable. While Young Link's weaknesses have still made him a weak character back in the day, Toon Link now takes that baton and truly built on that archetype, and is actually heavier than Young Link, these things add up to him being a higher character on tier list. Now, additionally, he has some better gameplay for zoning, and also his aerial mobility has improved. He has fast, powerful aerial attacks in addition to damaging his Zair that deals a lot of damage, and it keeps opponents at a distance and sets up into other attacks in his kit. But also, Toon Link has great combo starters like his up tilts or back air. and these can combo into themselves, and they actually are pretty safe tools. So he is basically better all around if we compare him to the Young Link iteration of the character. However, he suffers from underlying KO abilities like many other characters would expect he would, and his reach is really short, and also some of his KO tools like up smash are not that good. And Toon Link additionally possesses some short reach throughout his movesets and has a very predictable punish game. A punishable grab that doesn't have a lot of reach, and overall Toon Link is significantly better than Young Link. He does have some of the same weaknesses, although they're just not nearly as bad. So this is why he is actually way better in Brawl's meta, considering he can throw projectiles and camp at will. Toon Link actually received both buffs and nerfs in this transition to Smash 4, and this actually improved the character quite a bit, but also overall slightly nerfed him too at the same time, so he gained some important buffs for his mobility. And Boomerang and Bomb's utility is more noticeable, and Hookshot is actually a better tool in this game, and his grabs have more range and significantly less end lag, and Back Throw is now one of the most viable KO tools that he has in the game. And he also has the tether recovery buffs, and also bombs also no longer decrease in power. The changes to hit stun also make it improve Toon Link quite a bit when setting up for combos, and also his up tilt is to a lesser extent it falls into this. Toon Link also received plenty nerfs, although his overall damage output remains pretty above average, it has nonetheless lowered, which hinders his ability to rack up damage and also still have nice KO potential but aren't nearly as good. Neutral air is weaker, and also Fleur air can also no longer auto cancel, and also back aerial's excellent combo potential has been toned down, and the move is a lot more laggy. Even down air is much harder to use for spacing and for damage racking because of it being slower and now piercing opponents, which also makes the move more risky in this because you can't use it off stage. His grab aerial has increased lag, and this also hinders his follow potential, and Toon Link also no longer, if he Z drops an item or a bomb, he will automatically use his grab as well, which toned down this ability quite a bit. And spin attack has reduced the recovery distance, which means Toon Link's wall jump is going to have to be more on deck, as yeah, you're definitely going to need it this time around. And also, he no longer semi-spikes with his down air, so this also hurt a lot of aspects in Toon Link's potential. But despite the improvements, his projectiles have received plenty of changes to them, and also direct and indirect. Absorbable, which actually changes up the ability when using them, and he has to play more campy in order to exist in this game. So he mostly received some direct buffs in that way that did improve him, but also some direct nerfs that were pretty drastic. The changes in Smash 4's mechanics did benefit him, but also as a result, he is a weaker character than in Brawl, and due to Brawl's higher tiered characters receiving similar treatment to a varying degree, this is not a bad version of Toon Link, that's for sure. As in Melee, Young Link was actually very overshadowed when it came to the other characters in the cast. He had great frame data, a combo ability, but now he finally has higher amounts of knockback and some actual combo potential that he didn't have previously. Like his fire arrows, for example, or Boomerang, they have low startup and they send the opponent upward, which is really helpful. And Young Link also possesses kill confirms at higher percentages, his shortcoming. He does have a low amount of range for a sword fighter, which forces him to have to get up and scrap and deal with the effective damage flaw that he has, and also him being a lightweight, his recovery is very punishable due to the predictable arcs. Many of his moves are extremely safe on shields, such as down tilt, neutral air, forward air, back air, and even his Boomerang. Additionally, the speed on his moves makes it more reliable to use in his kit, and Young Link is most notably his combo game is really solid, and it's probably one of the premier aspects of this type of character is his combo game. Now, Young Link actually subverts the expectation of providing a more complex combo game. His jab can transition into rapid jab, it actually does a decent amount of damage and can create mix-ups for the character, and he has some jab cancels that lock opponents in, and he can allow those to set up into other tools. And he also has down tilt, which is a solid move, and forward smash, which are pretty strong moves for finishing out stocks. Even up special is pretty good in this game for that, at least in the air. You can hold down this move for a charge, which is actually pretty good, but you can't hold down the charge like a Samus, which would be good. But Boomerang has a really good lingering hitbox that can grant Young Link actually really strong stage control. His final projectile is the bomb, and obviously his bomb is a notorious aspect of his kit. In addition, it's a really solid Z-dropping tool in this game. You can obviously use bombs to cover platforms or ledge trap people, and then just use them as ways to try to zone with. And he's mostly played as a zoner compared to Link, which actually makes him actually more unique, although he does have some weaknesses like his poor frame data and inability to get out of pressure at times. Young Link is definitely a capable character when fighting up close, at least more than what he was in the past. It also allows him to take advantage of his combo game. Speaking of that, his last special move is Spin Attack, which serves as a surprisingly effective combo starter on the ground. And when it knocks opponents up in the air, you can deal weak amounts of knockback with little end lag, which starts at frame 9, which actually is a very good tool for young Link. His grab game is also the best out of any of the Links, and it provides him an additional option for comboing or also tech chasing at times. And hookshot for grabbing is also really solid. It is a very long disjointed grab, but in exchange it is pretty laggy, obviously. His range, while disjointed, is significantly lacking compared to a lot of other characters in the cast. And as a result, despite having a sword, young Link is beaten by a lot of characters that outrange him, even characters like the Sword Fighter, for example, causing his mid-range game to be rather poor because of his short range attacks, and his projectiles leave him open wide to attacks. So unlike the other sword characters in the game, he still needs to get up close. And if he wants to use his attacks other than his projectiles, this is going to lead to him having issues with his mobility. Young Link was actually met with a considerable amount of hype when he was first revealed to be returning after being absent since Melee. And by the time Ultimate came out, he had high hopes of being an actually pretty solid character. However, as time went on, players began to discover his weaknesses, which included his inconsistent KO power and also linear recovery and poor airspeed, which also make him relatively easy to edgeguard. While Young Link is seen as a top level character, however, in the first tier list, he saw a great decline because Link's results actually did increase, and Young Link also had lower activity because of this time period. It correlated with the decline of community opinions of the character's weaknesses, especially with his exploitable recovery. As a result, Young Link dropped to 38th on the second tier list, ranking in the B+ tier, making him one of the largest drop-offs between the first and second tier list. And this would actually drop him one place on the third tier list at 39th compared to Toon Links, who actually existed in an engine where it is arguably a lot better for the character, at least compared to Smash 4, where he had his own majority of the time. And I mean, Young Link and Toon Link are very, very similar, and that's why I covered them both in this video, is they both coexist in the meta now while also being a very similar character to each other. So Toon Link was actually ranked at 37th to 82, and this placed him actually on the lower end of the A- tier. Young Link is more of a middle ground between the two characters, and Link also has a strong projectile and combo game, and Link's strong kill power and bomb usage makes him really good. So while these characters want similar things at times, they're also very different with how they express their combos and their overall powerful tools and their kits, and how they zone with projectiles like their bombs and their arrows. Toon Link's mobility is also the best out of the three of them, so that gives him a decent amount of edge. Toon Link is also a middleweight character that boasts an average amount of dash speed and acceleration, and this also gives him the ability to wall jump. However, his airspeed is average, and his fall and fast speed are both pretty slow, while his gravity is low compared to the other characters. Up air and forward air are his strong KO options, and also he's able to Z-drop his bombs, which allows them to have a very interesting combo game supplemented by his jump canceling. Up tilt is the most effective at just starting combos in itself, and up smash and spin attack. Pretty good at low percentages at short hopping, and also his short hop back air is actually really good, and also his short hop spin attack at low percent is actually a very solid tool as well. His grab game is overall very polarizing, as hookshot grants him a long lasting grabs, but by extension Toon Link's back throw is actually one of the most viable KO options due to it being actually one of the strongest back throws in the game. This also means his forward throw is very decent at setting up edge guards and creating space, but conversely, Toon Link's down throw actually lacks combo potential compared to Young Link, and this drastically is an inferior aspect compared to the two. Several of Toon Link's attacks where he uses the Master Sword have been noticeably buffed, actually alleviating some of his KO problems that he had before. Particularly, Toon Link actually boasts a very strong ground game, and this actually is with his Nair, for example. And also he can tech chase a lot better because of these tools. Forward tilt has less end lag, and all the hitboxes send opponents in front of them. Down tilt and dash attack also got some improvements because of the end lag changes. Overall, Toon Link saw some middling results at first in the early metagame and was clearly outshined by Young Link, and the perception was that he just didn't have enough compared to now Young Link, who is significantly buffed and actually found a lot better changes to his combo game, which made people actually initially think the character was kind of bad. But conversely, Toon Link actually received a mix of buffs and nerfs throughout the updates, and also the transition, making it a weaker version of Young Link, but also having a weaker version of his projectile game, and this led to many to believe Toon Link is actually stronger now than he was perceived in the early days, and Toon Link is ranked the highest out of all three of the links, so this is really why this is the case. It is, as Young Link eventually were to fall off the meta, Toon Link took a big rise, and this is probably because of his zoning ability and his playstyle fitting the current metagame more than Young Link does. And he would go up 9 spots, so that's actually pretty insane. A stark contrast between the early Ultimate. So really, anything is possible in Smash. I honestly thought there was no point of bringing back Young Link, but I was totally fine with Young Link and Toon Link filling the same role this time around. And they actually made Young Link a more expressive character and function in a more unique way in meta. And Toon Link, while he is seen as outclassed by Young Link at certain points, he has earned his place in the meta and even is slightly worse than the past two versions of Toon Link. He's still solid enough. And I think both these characters show that you can have similar characters that exist and do similar things.